The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid has been my go-to tool for revising and refining my writing since my first book. Built by writers for writers, it's more than just a grammar and spell checker. Pro Writing Aid helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. It can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its new manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Get ahead of the competition by heading to prowritingaid.com and sign up for free using the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Show. My name is James Blatch.
And I am Cissy Mecca.
How exciting. Cissy, I have to mention the weather because we are in another big heat wave in the UK, and we're all, I can say I'm melting. I have been outside a bit today, but I'm in my air-conditioned office, and there's not many people who have air conditioning at home in the UK. But Jill, I keep telling Jill she should come and put a chair into the office and read her book in here.
I told you should sleep in there. I mean, I would just put an air mattress and sleep in there. I'm not even an air conditioner girly. Like, I don't love it. I don't like being cold. But when it's hot like that, I can't sleep. Like, we have one in the bedroom. I'd be sleeping in your office.
It's going to be 36 today, which is warm by our standards. Let me tell you what that is. 36 C in F is 96.8 and 97. That's hot, isn't it?
That is hot.
Even for you.
Even for us, that's hot. Yeah, that's legit.
I know it's hot because our South African pro we have playing at the cricket club is sweltering. And he's used to heat in South Africa, so it's hot here.
And even he's hot.
So, we like to talk about the weather. I thought I'd get the weather out the way. I mean, some people will be listening to this in 6 months' time when they're going through the back catalogue of shows. It'll be winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and they go, what's he going on about?
Why is he talking about the weather? And I have to tell you, can I tell you something since we're doing the intro stuff? I was listening to a podcast yesterday on House of the Dragon, and because once I'm in it with these shows, I'm in it. So I'm at the gym, I'm listening to it, and there's these two guys, and they're great. But it takes them 20 minutes to get in, and I'm fast forwarding, and I'm like, okay. And then I realized, no, that's us.
That's what we do. Yeah.
Shoot.
I don't know if we do 20 minutes.
Oh, they were ridiculous. It was too much.
It's, I've been doing this podcast business for a long time, 450, 60 episodes in, something like that. And it's a divider because half the people will tell you they enjoy this aspect of the podcast. They enjoy the personalities. I think our listeners generally, they're our friends, right? And that's how it feels to me. And when I meet people, they're friends because they listen to the show. And that's what we're doing here. We're just being friends together. So people enjoy that aspect of it. And I know for sure some people are driving to the swimming pool. Some people are in the gym. Some people are walking when they listen. But there's also people who say, I'm just here for the interview. I'm just here to learn. And they put grumpy comments on YouTube saying, podcast actually starts at 18 minutes and 14 seconds. But I don't want to, I enjoy this bit. You and I get to catch up, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess they could fast forward. That's what I did. I was like,
it's not beyond
and I don't
the wit
mind a
of
now
man.
Bit of it. What's that?
No, it's not beyond the wit of man for them to fast forward if that's what they want to do.
I suppose. But I was, of course, consciously thinking, no, now I have a podcast and but it was a bit much. They were going on and on and on, and I had nothing to do with House of the Dragon, and we're not friends, so I don't know them. So it was kind of, I don't know. But
House of the Dragon. So I know you're big into that. Now, let me tell you my position on all this fantasy dragon stuff. So Game of Thrones, Jill and I are not particularly fantasy people. It's the one thing we kind of agree on. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I don't mind a bit of fantasy, but I'm not really drawn to it. So hold your horses here, people. I did not enjoy Lord of the Rings. I'm not a Lord of the Rings person. Didn't enjoy the films. Watched them, but I thought they were spectacular for what they were, but would never watch them again type thing. And I thought watching them from a storytelling point of view, there are whole sequences you could pull out of those films that make no difference to the story. Anyway, parking that, I know I've enraged a lot of people. They're not my friends anymore now, but I'll say that.
I thought about it when I found this out for the first time. I was like,
you're questioning it. And if there's a longevity here. But Game of Thrones comes along, and I don't know why we started watching, but we did, and it was gripping right from the word go.
Yeah.
Because the politics of the insular claustrophobic politics of this small isle that had big I mean, it was world building on a fantastic scale, very drawing you in. Then the dragons come along, because there's the Queen of the Dragons, Blondie. What was her name? What was her name? Daenerys.
Other
English
AKA
actress.
Blondie, yeah.
Yeah, Blondie. And she's got dragons. And they're not massive in the show. It's not like very dragony until the end when it was a bit too dragony. But we're not really dragon people. So House of Dragon is like the worst for us. It's the bit of Game of Thrones we didn't enjoy all the time. But you can look, you've got 30 seconds to persuade me. And then I've got to persuade Jill. So this better be good.
All of the political intrigue is there. So come for the political intrigue, maybe stay for a little bit of dragons. I will say the opening sequence of this particular season is heavy on dragons. However, they're expensive, so they don't have them around all of the time.
No.
And
dragons are expensive to look after, are they?
They are expensive. They're expensive to look after. They're expensive to feed. They're expensive to take to war, and they're expensive to produce. So they're not there all the time. It's really the Game of Thrones political intrigue. House of the Dragon is just focusing on the Targaryens as opposed to, the Starks and all of the Lannisters and the things that we saw in Game of Thrones. So it's just a different bit of the world building when the Targaryens were in charge. They had dragons, hence the name House of the Dragons, but it's not a dragon show. There is a little bit of drag. But really, it's George R. R. Martin's material, and that's what makes it amazing. And I do understand. So this comes from a history book, basically. So he didn't necessarily write the script. He didn't write the books in terms of, the storytelling, but the history is still there. His footprint is still there. The deep political intrigue and interwoven politics are all still there. It's amazing. I think the acting is on track. I mean, there's a little bit of polarity in terms of, what people think of season 2, a little drawn out at times, but it's amazing. I mean, it's just the world is so rich. George R. R. Martin is a master, and this is his material, and how could you not watch? And I don't even understand. So.
All right. Okay. And we can't be friends if we don't watch. All right. I'm going to tell Jill. Well, look, listen, we're very much enjoying Widow's Bay at the moment, which I think we've got one more episode to do, which we'll probably do tonight, which stars Matthew Rhys. If you turned me on to The Americans. Matthew Rhys is in The Americans. And Widow's Bay is a really interesting series. It's sort of one episode set contemporary in a kind of Martha's Vineyard style island off the northeast coast of the US. And then some of them are set back in the 1600s. The episodes, it's great. Have you watched Widow's Bay?
No. What is this? What is it on?
It's a black comedy. Well, I don't know. In the UK, what's it on? In the UK, I can't. Do you know, that's the thing about the modern era. So every time we sit down to watch something, we have to go through Netflix, Apple, Amazon Prime, Now TV, Sky Atlantic to work out where the series is we're watching. You don't really associate it with a channel anymore. You just know you're watching a series that's on one of those channels.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's on. Let me have a look.
I'll look it up.
Oh, it's on Apple. It's on Apple TV. Oh, of course, you don't have Apple TV with all the best series.
I have it now.
Okay,
I just got a credit card, me with the travel hacking, that has an Apple subscription. So I now have Apple TV. There you go. Okay,
well, you need to watch Widow's Bay. I think it'd be up your. It's a sort of black comedy, horror. It's got some horror aspects in it. 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 98% Rotten Tomatoes, 8.2 on TMDb. I don't know what that is. So it's obviously got plaudits as well. All right, so my homework this week is to persuade my wife to watch House of the Dragon, and your job is to watch Widow's Bay. And
got it.
Listening, you can have a choice. We'll give you a choice. If you haven't watched one of those two, you've got to watch one of them.
Pick
and
one.
Then we can talk about it. Listen, we are doing something we're going to do a couple of news bits in a moment. We are going to do your 6th monthly audit, which is your idea, Cissy, and I think it's a great idea. What's the point of the 6-month audit before we get there?
Well, first of all, the fact that I suggested this topic just shows you how far I've come. I am usually not the data girl. I don't like spreadsheets at all, but AI has changed the game for me. Turns out I love data when it just looks like information and words. And so the 6-month audit is really just about midway through the year. Where are we at? Where are we going? I think I do it, every week I do a day to day and then every month. And so I'm delving in a little bit deeper now in June to see for quarter 3 and 4, am I on track? And I just think it's not a bad idea for everybody to kind of take a look. And we can talk about, how we do this audit. And obviously, I'm going to mention Claude and AI because I just don't like data. But now I don't have to run it. I don't have to do numbers. I don't have to say to my husband, hey, can you look at my KDP account and do XYZ? In about 5 minutes, I've got spreadsheets with colors, and it's all good.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to come on to
Yeah.
that in a moment. That'll be a sort
Yeah.
of point, some notes to take away from that, and do the same for yourself and your books. Whether it's your full-time income, whether you are a seven-figure, or whether you're break-even or just hoping to make a bit of money, but make sure that your books are being published properly, there'll be stuff in the 6-month audit that'll be relevant to you. Okay, couple of bits and pieces then that are knocking about. First of all, let's say a huge congratulations to Matt Dinnerman, who's having, there's an expression in Greece that I've never understood. This must be an American expression. They say it's going to be a banner year. They say it's going to be a banner year. I don't know what that means, but they say that in Greece at the beginning. Big, like literally a banner. Is that what
Like
it means?
a big year. This is going to be this is his year. Yeah.
Well, Matt Dinnerman is having a banner year with his series. I think 8 books now. I'm only getting towards the end of 3, so I'm not even halfway through the series. Dungeon Crawler Carl, which has been picked up. Now, he told me this in London, that it had been picked up and was in development with a company I think owned by Seth MacFarlane, and it's been given the green light, which is very, very exciting. So Dungeon Crawler
Awesome.
Carl, with the tagline, "The Apocalypse will be televised." It's a comedy, sort of a lit RPG, I suppose, is the genre the books were published under. I don't know quite how to describe it. It's the setup. I have mentioned it before, but the setup is that you've got this kind of regular guy called Carl, and he chases his girlfriend's cat out of the window of his apartment block, I think in LA, at the very beginning. Whilst he's standing outside, the entire world collapses. Like literally every building collapses to rubble on the ground, and the only people left alive are those who happened to be outside their building when this happened. Everybody inside the building is squashed. So it's the middle of the night in LA, so not a lot of Americans survived. They were in their houses, probably asleep. Other parts of the world, it was broad daylight, more people were outside. And within 15 minutes, anyone surviving either needs to take their chances in the desolate, barren landscape that is now planet Earth, where they're just going to perish, or they go down and take part in a game. And these steps open up. You find your nearest staircase and you go down and you are in level 1 of a game. And it's a slightly magical, fantastical land in there. Things are slightly different. You can power up. The more people you kill, you get experience for. You can develop weapons. You can get sponsors. People are watching around the universe. This is what it is. It's a bit like Hunger Games, I suppose, that sort of thing. But Carl is outside with the cat, remember? Now, the cat is called Princess Donut and is somehow, by the AI that runs the game, mistaken for actual royalty, because in the rest of the galaxy, some royalty are cats, right? So, it's all sorts of creatures exist in the rest of the galaxy. So the cat is royalty and is promoted above Carl. And a lot of this book, a lot of the charm and wit of this book is the relationship between Carl and Princess Donut, which is quite magical. Anyway, it's not the sort of series lit RPG is not a genre I would naturally read. I have a lot of reading lists. Don't mind it. I'm a big sci-fi guy and I play video games, so it's kind of my wheelhouse, but just hadn't read it and didn't really understand what people meant by lit RPG. But a couple of people mentioned this book to me, picked it up. I will be at the end of book 8 in a couple of months. I mean, I am ripping through this. So it's just a fantastic series, and doesn't surprise me at all that Seth MacFarlane has picked this up. He can do voices, can't he, Seth MacFarlane? And by the way, the audiobook is fantastic for Dungeon Crawler Carl. So if you want to listen to the audiobook, and I've met the audio narrator, I'll come up with his name in a second, in London as well, who's superb. I hope he gets a role in this, because his voices are so much a part of the story. Hope he gets a role in it. It's coming to Peacock in America. I don't know what it'll be on in the UK, it'll be something. But anyway, I just want to say congratulations to Matt. And I hope if he's not listening, someone who knows Matt passes this on to him, to say that we are bigging him up and we're so thrilled with his success.
Yeah, that's amazing. I haven't started it yet, but I have book 1. I was at a bookstore, grabbed it just to support. And, I've heard nothing but great things. So huge congratulations. I haven't met him. I didn't realize he was in London, James. You should have introduced me.
Yes, he wasn't in London for SPS. He was in London for LBF earlier in the year. Yeah.
I was like, wow, I would have thought I would have noticed that he was at the conference.
I would love Matt to be at SPS next year, but that's I shouldn't say that out loud because I haven't spoken to him yet, but we're putting together our wish list for next year, and we're already chasing down a couple of people, and Matt is definitely one of them, but he's a busy man, I know, at the moment. Jeff Hayes, I should say. Jeff Hayes is the fantastically talented voice man. I mean, amazingly talented voice guy who does the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. Okay, what else were we going to mention?
Well, speaking of the conference, I have failed to mention, it's come to my attention, that we did a breakdown of day one. Do you remember we did the live podcast at the conference? Okay. And apparently I failed to mention, or we failed to mention, the top bill of day one, which was the slamming opener of the self-publishing show done by none other than Tom Donnelly. How did we forget to mention that?
It's strange that you would forget it because normally he's there reminding you about himself. But
well, I just wanted to say we forgot to
we didn't mention Tom,
that.
so apologies for that, Thomas.
I don't know how that happened, but it was quite an opener. And you did the survey. How is that coming in? Because I'm sure that he got some kudos. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I sent out the survey yesterday, and then after 2 hours, I looked at the first 65 responses. I'm hoping to get 400 responses. But I looked at the first 65 just in case there was one thing that everybody hated, or there was a problem, a complaint, or something like that. If there was any big spike on anything I needed to know early doors about, and there was nothing. What I did see was very, very positive all the way through, including for Tom's session. And I edited Tom's session this morning for the video version of it. So I watched the whole thing again, which I did. I watched it in person anyway. So that went down really well, but I will be reporting back on the survey results. And I don't know if now's the right time to float the idea, if I mentioned this last time, but we're thinking about adding a third day. So quite a few people said to us, why don't you do a third day? I think particularly Americans who traveled quite a long time, and in fact, people from Australia and New Zealand as well, travel for 2-day conference. Why don't you add a third day? And it's very expensive, obviously, to put on a third day. It would put the ticket cost up. So I'm reluctant to do it for that reason, because I want people in the UK and Europe who are, a very important part of the conference to be able to afford it. And once you've added on your hotel, it's realistically, Cissy, it's the best part of $1,000, isn't it? Once you paid for your ticket and booked your hotel and paid for your food and stuff. So it's not a light undertaking. I appreciate that. Adding a third day would add quite a lot to the ticket cost. But what we could offer is a kind of add-on third day, which is not going to be the same as the first 2 days. The first day is plenary, everyone in the same room. Second day is a series of presentations you can pick and choose from. Third day, we think, would be 2-hour sessions where you get to implement some of the stuff you learned the day before. So we'd probably do it for, we think, maybe not a maximum of 90 people, 90 maybe, what's 30 times 4? 120. 120 people would probably be the maximum. We'd have 4 classrooms of 30, or maybe 3 classrooms of 90, so we haven't quite decided. You can see this is a work in progress. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that one of them might be advertising. So you'll get the 2 or 3 trainers who did advertising the day before. So maybe Amanda from Amazon, Jerry and Tom from Facebook ads, etc., and Ricardo and Sarah. They'd be in the room. They'd all do a little bit. Right, this is what we're going to do. Who wants to work on Amazon ads? Who wants to work on Facebook ads? The people working on Facebook ads, let's focus on imagery and copy because it's the most important thing. So analyze your book or swap a book with your partner, analyze their book, write the copy, produce the images, and let's share them and dissect them, and let's learn together best practice. So that would be the ads one. Tom, I think, would be ideal to run a story session. We did a couple of writers' workshops in Cambridge, didn't we, where I put my book forward, Rachel put her book forward, and I think the other people in the room learned a lot from the process of Tom running a writer's room the way they do in Hollywood, saying, well, that's not going to work, is it? Let's go back again and make this more realistic or complicated. And so it shows you how stories come together in that environment with the writers and so on. So that could be another one, and then maybe a third one, and potentially a fourth one. So we'd have these hands-on days, if you like, where you can just take the next step. It would be extra on top of the cost of the conference, and you wouldn't be missing anything by not doing it. I mean, the whole conference will be there. This will be really just a nicety, to icing on the cake to implement what you learned in the 2 days before. So that's our idea. There is a question, I think, in the survey about whether you would consider a third day. Although one of the answers is depends on cost, and I think most people will tick that at this stage. But so that's a plan we've got for SPS Live 2027.
I like it. I like it a lot. When I was a curriculum consultant, we often structured it just that way. So it would be a morning session with, here's the information from, the state of Pennsylvania Education Department, whatever. And then the afternoon would be breakouts where we would work with administrators or teachers and actually put it into practice. And then sometimes, if it was a bigger topic, 2 days, just like we have One day is all of the learning. Second day is hands-on, because when we present information and then just let everybody go free, what typically happens, at least in school districts, is they learn all of the information, then go back to the district and then keep doing what they were doing. And so that hands-on really becomes the bridge. And I think it's a great idea and a good opportunity for people to kind of put it into practice, because they're more likely to, take it back home. I mean, sometimes we come back from these conferences so filled with so many good ideas that there's a word for that, right? Something paralysis. You just don't do anything.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. And it's education best practice, Jane. So
Yeah,
kudos
I like
to
to
whoever
be-
came up with that brilliant idea. I wish I
like
could
to
say it
be
was me.
Educational best practice. Okay. I think you're going to mention who to credit for doing your package box set.
Yes. Speaking of best practice. So actually, that was not a good transition. I'm not talking best practice at all. I'm talking book bundles. So yes, I want to give a shout out to Rosalind, who was at our, what do we call it, Cambridge Mastermind Retreat, writing
Yeah.
retreat. I think it's more of a mastermind at this point, right? And she had a fantastic idea about book bundles, just kind of selling your paperbacks in bundles, not necessarily an omnibus or a box set, that might already be on Amazon, but just taking all of the paperbacks and saying, here's a bundle. I put it into practice yesterday. I sent out a newsletter, got a ton of orders. Readers are obviously excited about this. And then I added an option where it's called a finisher bundle, where if they already have a book, let's say they picked up book one at a, signing or something, they can get the rest of the books in the series. And it's an easy way for me to repackage some of the IP that's already out there. Paperbacks are on Amazon. Now I'm just kind of sending it from Amazon to them. I know Rosalind uses Book Vault in the UK. I'm going to start off with using just the Amazon and then I'm doing book plates signed. And since they're not coming from me, I don't want to handle shipping with this. This is pretty much just, I want all of the paperbacks. Here you go.
And you've used
And then I'll just send an envelope out.
to go and build the web pages, which is very impressive. Are they live now?
They're live. So all of my Cissy titles are live. So if you go to mecharomance.com, there's now a paperback bundles, thanks to Rosalind's really great idea. Paperback bundles right on the top nav bar. And then when you drop down, all of my Cissy titles are live. The CL Blood White titles live. Series is live. Now I have to work on the Cecilia. I always do Cecilia last because I have the most books and it's the most daunting. So this week I'll be adding that. But it was honestly pretty simple. I took most of the flight home to refine that page. I said to Claude Cowork, give me an optimized landing page for a paperback bundle. I linked my website with the paperbacks already on it. So it had all of the images. All I had to do is send a link. I used PayHip and it built the page. We refined it. Once the page was built, it took an hour to build 6 more because I said replicate that, but this time, with the whole new series. So I have 6 landing pages, 6 bundles now, and by the end of the week, I'll have all of them. And it's just one more way. And readers seem to be excited. And I thought, well, this is, they can already get the paperbacks, but it's actually less to get them from me. And they get and I have stickers out the wazoo. I have one for every series. So they'll just get a signed book plate, pop in a sticker for the series and an envelope. And, it's good for everybody. So yeah, you should try it.
Yeah, I should definitely try it. And wasn't Rosalind an impressive person? So bright.
She really was.
Very
Yep.
dynamic, I think, in what she's doing. And background in the British Army, senior officer in the British Army, I think married also to a senior officer. But in my experience, I know lots of people from the military, they don't necessarily always transition into business because the military is a particularly kind of formatted way of operating. But Rosalind is an entrepreneur. I mean, there's no question about it. And she's really good. I thought she was a very impressive person.
Spitfire. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, she was in the Army. The Spitfire was the Royal Air Force.
Yes.
Hey, we've been rambling for 24 minutes and 45 seconds. How do you think that feels? How does that feel now? There's somebody on a treadmill going, just get on with it.
We should mention that in the notes or something. No, because we don't want people to skip this. I mean,
Let's
I
talk.
think we're fun.
I think we're fun. That sounds the sort of thing you say to me at 10:30 at night when we're both fairly well oiled. I think we're fun.
I think we're fun.
I think we are too. Okay, let's talk about the mid-year business audit. I'm going to let you introduce this session.
Okay, so the mid-year business audit, we're halfway through 2026. Most of us are head down, heading into the, second part of the year, but the business builders are taking a pause, checking the scoreboard, where are we at? And we're going to do that live today. Talk about, how I did that. Maybe you'll do one, James. Real numbers, real decisions. Are you ready? I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the right thing to do because you could have made changes, and we're going to talk about stopping doing stuff in a minute, which is quite an often overlooked thing in business. You could have made changes in the first 6 months and not really noticed or taken a proper assessment of whether they were impactful or not. So it is important to take a step back, to stop doing things for a day and just assess where you are and what you've done. So that's what this is about, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, the first part is just what are you measuring? Because this was always the sticking point for me. I used to say all the time, I wish someone would just teach me what data to look at. I know I have data. I have KDP, I have the dashboard and all of that, but I don't know what to track beyond what books are doing well, what series are doing well. Okay, yes, maybe read through. And I think we get trapped in looking at vanity metrics sometimes over what the numbers could be doing for us. We're all used to tracking our rank, our bestsellers rank and things like that. But really, what are you measuring? And that was where I started with Claude, with my AI kind of on the back end is what should we be tracking? If I'm going to dedicate every Monday to tracking data, what is the data that we should be tracking? And then we just kind of broke it out. So once we took an entire year's worth of KNEP data and put it in there, it's as simple as saying, tell me what to track. I always say this with the AIs. They are really good at creating their own prompts. So that could be a starting point. Put it all in there. If I were to look at this, just from now to the midpoint, or if I want to do it a little bit more often, every month or every week, what should I be tracking? And one of the things that it told me to track was, since the backbone of my business is KNEP and my KU, that was something that is like starred forefront, and it wanted me to have targets. I'm like, targets? This sounds like a real business over here. Targets. So I have KNEP targets, and right now the mid-year told me that my KNEP is running at 28% above target every month of the first 2 quarters, which is really good news. It's not an accident. It's a measurement that it said we need to look at this and we need to increase this. And I said, all right, let's do it. So I'm pretty proud of that number because it's something we set out to track and it's working.
So what the process here, I guess, is you look at maybe the last 6 months of 2025, you look at your KENP and then compare that with the first 6 months. Be brutally honest about this. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? You do the same with your email open rates. You do the same with your print versus Kindles and so on. So you track all of those and you can get, as you say, AI will do this for you once you tell it what it is you want to be reported to. I mean, I sort of have done this not properly. I'm not sat here for a day I've done it. I've just been mulling over the fact that it took me a few months into this year because I'm just so ridiculously busy and I don't really focus on my own books as much as I'd like to. And my big focus in the last 6 months has been writing another book, so not really doing the marketing. But I know that I made about $3,000 last year in 2025. And in 2024, I made $6,500 from two novels because I do market them. I do run Facebook ads and I'm quite good at those. So I turn over about 15,000, something like that, $15,000 the year before, and made 6,500. And then last year made 2,700, I think it was. So I don't know why. And then it kind of occurred to me slowly. Then I had a quick look at the figures just in snatches. And one of them was that my print sales were down quite significantly. And it was, I think maybe a week before SPS, when I was going through the presentations that people were doing, and I was looking at Marvin Wave's presentation on TikTok, and I thought, that's staring me in the face that in 2024, I was very active on TikTok. And in 2025, that just dropped off completely. And hey presto, that's $4,000 worth of sales over the year. TikTok was driving sales, and you don't see that. You don't get an email the next day saying, oh, well done, your TikTok yesterday sold you 6 books. You need to put the effort into, over a period of time, correlate what your activity you've been doing with sales if no other changes are being made. So I said to you in SPS that I'd made this discovery, and that was basically this sort of audit, doing this sort of audit. I did a bit piecemeal, and there's a decision for me that I need to try and find some time and get active on TikTok again.
Yeah, I think both of us have decided that we're going to do that. I am implementing. So yesterday I had a little bit of a chat with Claude about this, and I'm going to do the same thing and commit to 3 times a day on a medieval series because, my second quarter is all leading into a brand new medieval series. So it's something I want to focus on. I want to increase subscribers in my medieval catalog. I want to test TikTok in medieval. So we're going to take a series. I stopped advertising to a 4-book medieval series so that we can create a baseline and then really test this, because I said I don't want to do 3 times a day TikTok if I can't measure this at all. And so Claude's kind of helping me figure out how to measure it. And again, it's just an easy way to, if you're not a data person, kind of like me, then just like say, how can we measure this? Like, what would someone who's really good at data do to measure this TikTok usage? And so, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. But you also mentioned email. I really focused on email. That was something early in the year when I decided to kind of spend a lot of time on data. Email has to be at the forefront because it is something we own. We all know people who do really well in this business. And a lot of times I know where I can get to the top 10 on Amazon, top 100 on Amazon, top 1,000, whatever it is, based on my email list. And so that was something I really wanted to take a look at. And when I did this audit just this week, I had a really exciting email win. My open rates went from, 20, let's see where the number is, average of 27% to now it's 57% after cleaning my list, after, just implementing some things that I asked Claude, hey, listen, how do we double my email open rate? And it talked me through it. We implemented it month by month. And this mid-year audit says those things are doing well for me. My KNEP is running above target. My open rate is doubled. And then there's some surprises too. Like I didn't even realize this until I did the audit. 3 of my top 5 titles right now are German. And so DE became my second revenue engine the first half of this year without even trying. I am not even doing ads. It's something I wanted to add, the DE ads, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. So the fact that it's doing that without ads, I'm really pleased about that. But the audit basically uncovered.
You should definitely prioritize your next 6 months DE ads.
I know.
German
Yeah,
ads.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that this audit uncovered. It was like, listen, we need to focus on D. I've been so focused on a co-authored series with Tina on, kind of taking my 3 pen names and turning it into the mecha romance business that, other things fall off. I am one person. And so the audit basically uncovered, like, we've got to be pushing this because I didn't realize how big DE had slowly become as I'm adding translations.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about email, I think, in another episode. I think it deserves its own episode because I've been getting quite into the weeds on email lists recently. In fact, I had a long call last night with Evan from Email Smart, which is a data analysis company that helps people with deliverability rates and open rates. And he started off this call saying just email has changed dramatically over 10 years. And a lot of people haven't noticed that the open rates are probably exaggerated. They're probably not as big as as you're being reported to. And how much people are reading has gone down. I think he gave me a stat that 3 years ago, people read on average 18.7 seconds of an email. Now that's below 7 seconds of each email. So people's attention span's gone down, but we're still writing quite long-winded emails, expecting people to go all the way through. And we haven't really changed that. So we need to be adjusting the way that we write emails, and we need to be a lot more ruthless about who is on our list. There's real dangers to sending emails to people who are not engaging, not opening, because the Googles of this world and the Microsoft, they notice that and they start marking your account as being of poorer reputation. And so having within your engines, you've got in a ConvertKit or MailerLite, having a system of engagement where somebody comes into your list and you spot them and you check them after 30 days. And if they haven't opened anything, you can send them a couple of emails over 2 or 3 weeks and say, look, do you want to be a part of this or not, type thing, politely. And if they don't, get rid of them, scrub them, because them sitting there not opening is harming you, which is not something we've really done before. So you can automate all of this now. It can happen while you're sleeping. You can scrub those lists, those numbers who aren't contacting. You'd much rather have a smaller list with high opening rates. That's what, in fact, it's not even a choice anymore. You need to be having a smaller list with high open rates, not a big list with poor open rates, because that's just going to spiral for you. So, and I've done that. I've been brutal. SPF's list was 340,000 not that long ago. It's now 98,000. And that's me scrubbing people who are not engaging anymore. Now, some people are coming back, which is great. And I can see that because my particular system called Keep keeps a record of people even after you've deleted them, and it's great to see them coming back. But that's the right way to do it. They've re-engaged with us through a form, through a landing page, and then they're back in. But I think that deserves its own episode. Maybe I'll even get Evan on here to talk about it because he is such an expert in this area. But most of us have a mailing list. Most of us are doing the same thing with our mailing list that we did 5-10 years ago. And that's probably not going to cut it in 2026, 27, 28. So we need to be thinking about that.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this last week. I thought I was maybe exempt from that discussion because I use Flowdesk and I'm, in their legacy program or whatever. I pay one price no matter how many subscribers I have. And so I've always thought, well, I'm not paying for them. And that's the main reason to scrub my list. So I hadn't done that. I've done some re-engagement campaigns, but, I didn't do anything really beyond that. Turns out you're right. And I was wrong. Just because I'm not paying for them doesn't mean they shouldn't be gone. And that's one of the things that helped me improve my open rate, that I took those people that weren't engaging and they are now on a suppressed list. I will run another re-engagement campaign with them. And if they come back in, great. But for the time being, they are not getting my emails. So I did this in March. So right now it's called a March suppress. And that list does not get sent out with the rest of my emails. And it's definitely helped my list. So yeah, even with Flowdesk, it's a good idea.
And by the way, it's not the end of it. Deleting people off your email list, that 200,000 who've disappeared off the main Learn Self-Publishing list are still used for building audiences on Facebook, for Facebook ads. They're still used for lookalikes because I know they're authors. A lot of them were authors and came here in the first place. Now, maybe they've taken a step back, but that's still a useful market. And you can still contact them via advertising. So it's a much more passive way of doing it. They're not, you're not spamming them. They're just seeing your adverts pop up in their newsfeed. So if they're interested and they want to come back, that's the way to do it. So don't permanently delete them off your own system. Export the contacts before you delete them. Like I say, this does deserve its own episode.
Okay. So we will talk about that. I'm excited about that episode because email is something that is one of my goals this year, improving that list and bringing more people on, which brings us to the next part of this. What did you stop doing? So it's, I think, as important to stop doing things that don't work as it is to double down on things that do work. And so one of the things I stopped doing was, one of my goals was obviously to increase the email leads. Since I haven't been publishing in Cecilia, because this first half of the year I was concentrated in Cissy, which is contemporary. My friend Tina Gallagher and I put out a co-authored series. I'm not bringing anyone necessarily onto the Cecilia lists that aren't in back matter, just coming on organically. So I know coming into Black Sales, which is my new medieval series in the fall, that was going to be a goal. So I set out to do what looked like a very successful Facebook lead ad campaign. Set it up in January, February, started running. It was just, I thought, doing really well. The leads were less than the target that we had set, like much less, like half. I had an ad that on paper looked amazing. It was pulling people into Flowdesk, but without this audit, I'm doing something that isn't necessarily working the way it should, because turns out I had lead quality issues that kind of compounded. So these leads were coming in and initially I was tracking them and they were opening emails and they're buying some books. I'm like, this is great. Life is good. But then as the months went on, I continued to track that and that did not stay there. So they may have opened an email or two. They may have purchased a book or two, but then from there, they just kind of fell off. And so what I realized is this wasn't working the way I wanted it to. So then I dug in a little bit more, looked at some of my unsubscribes, looked at, the spam complaints that I had, which my spam complaints are low, but I also want to take a look at those. And they were mostly coming from that Facebook lead ad. So I killed it in May. But now I don't really have anything bringing in, those new medieval subscribers. So the audit helped me stop doing that, but it doesn't necessarily help where do I get the leads from, because I would like to have, another 500 to 1,000 subscribers on my medieval list between now and September. So it's not something I've resolved yet, but I have stopped doing it. And now I'm working on phase 2, which is, okay, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Where are they going to come from? It might be the TikTok, so potentially this 3 times a day, really leaning into TikTok with one backlist medieval series. Maybe it's leads that I'm going after and I'm, optimizing for that and seeing if I can bring them in that way. I'm not sure yet, but I do know I've stopped doing it. And I think that's as important as things that, you're doing well. Well, so something I thought I was doing well, but not so much.
Yeah, I have a very mixed feelings about Facebook lead campaigns at the moment because, like you, I've noticed a significant chunk of poor quality leads coming in through them. Maybe 40% are unengaged, possibly even bots, just doing nothing on your list. that's not to say it's not valuable, because there's 50 to 60% there, which can be good. And there'll be a percentage of those go on to be customers of yours, buying your books. But I think you need to do a Facebook lead gen campaign with your eyes open. That figure you see on the dashboard, you picked up 118 leads over the last week.
Woo-hoo.
You need to think, I've got 25 leads. Realistically, I've got 25 quality leads, and you need to have that, what I was just referring to, that kind of scrubbing system in your email system to make sure you're not just filling up on people who aren't going to click.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll cover that a bit later. I wouldn't say don't do Facebook lead book ads, but eyes open.
Track the data and track those numbers, see if they're opening your emails, see if they're clicking, see if they're buying, and data is amazing, it turns out.
Yeah. Data is great. And in terms of what I stopped, I've already given you a spoiler alert. I stopped doing TikTok in any kind of meaningful way, and that had a negative impact on my sales. And I hadn't really considered, because I probably wasn't tracking it properly. I was doing quite a lot of other ads at the time, but I now know over a period of months that has been a significant drop off of print sales, which is weird, because TikTok people just seem to like buying your print on demand books. So I need to go back to that.
Yeah. So that's one thing I stopped. It's not working, and, we'll move on. So, it's funny. This is going to sound so simple and silly, but I hosted a blog conference years ago, and we had about 500 bloggers. They would be called influencers now at it. And one of the best keynote speakers I ever had was a woman who ran what was one of the top mom blogs at the time. And she got up on the stage and she said, listen, for the next 15 minutes, all I'm going to talk about is figuring out what you're doing well and doubling down on it, and figure out what's not working and stop it. And everybody is going to continue to listen to me, but really that's all you needed to hear. And then she talked for another 15 minutes, and I'll never forget that, because it was so simple, and it's really true. But it just sounds too simple to work. But honestly, all of this audit, when I kind of went through, and I'm using Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT, all kind of working on like this one data pool, and they pretty much said the same thing. Do more of this, do less of this. And so I think it's a simple but really valuable lesson.
Definitely. Are we on to the next point?
Yes. So I think the thing is just the pivot, right? So once you know what you're doing well, and you can double down. Once you stop doing what's not working, coming up with a plan for the third and fourth quarter of the year. So for me, the pivot is, I'm doing one big thing for the fall, and that's a brand new medieval series. Everything feeds into that, at this point. So new ads, I have everything else kind of humming, and maybe I'll add some German ads, but my lead gen, my TikTok, everything is, kind of leading up to that. And so for me, it's just that one big thing that I need to focus on. And I'm not great at that, because I do love shiny things. I mean, the paperback bundles was a great idea. I probably should have put it on the shelf and then kind of came back to it later. But no, I'm on the plane and I'm doing paperback bundles, and I should be writing black sales, because that's my one big thing. So I do have a hard time really focusing. And so that's something I need to work on.
Yeah. But, going back to what your friend said at the blogger conference, and what Becca Syme teaches, if that's what you're energized for, that's what you're good at, is setting stuff up, lean into that, and then outsource maybe some of the other stuff. Obviously, you do need to kind of outsource your writing, but yeah, don't feel too bad about that. So I have, in terms of my assessment of my writing side, there's two big things I do. I think that I need to continue writing. I've got to get this fourth book out this year, and I'm plotting my fifth book at the moment, which I'm really enjoying doing. It got a good start in Cambridge in the writer's room, and I've got a kind of 2,500 word description of that. I need to share that with someone. I need some feedback. Maybe you could do that. I don't know. I don't want to take up more of your precious time, but I could do with somebody reading that.
I'm happy
to. I may have overcomplicated it, but you'll have to tell me that. And I'm going to what I'm going to do with TikTok, because I've got to be realistic here. I don't have that much time in the day. I don't have really any time in the day. And so I can't overcommit to it. But using AuthorScale, which is one of the vendors we had at SBS Live, using AI batching, I think there is a way of me getting back into that arena without it being a massive drain on my time. I can find a way of doing that. But I need to spend half a day probably planning that, and how that's going to work and look, before I can assess whether it's realistic for me or not, or whether I just focus on writing. But that has come out of this type of mid-year assessment of where I am.
I love it. Well, I'm happy to, as they say in Britain, I've been using that all the time now. I'm happy. It's just such a nicer way of saying things. I'm happy to do that. I
Do you
love
not
it.
say I'm happy to do that in America?
No, we say like, sure, or yeah. Well, you would say something like, I'm happy to have dinner with you on Friday. We would be like, yeah, dinner Friday sounds good. I don't know. We don't really say that, but I have been saying that more because
Because you're a happy
you're
person.
rubbing off, I think.
Yeah. Rubbing off is something else. Okay. Final aspect of this mid-year audit.
I have a challenge. Can I do that? A challenge? Can I do a listener challenge?
Yeah, you can.
Can I?
Somebody's just fallen off the treadmill and realizing they've got more homework. They've already got to watch either Widow's Bay or House of Dragon.
No,
Now
that's
they've got more homework.
Okay, well, can they? It's all about choice. You can choose that homework and or this homework. But I would love, so like maybe before July 4th, which is a big deal over here, by the way, this
God bless
year,
America.
big 4th of July.
Yeah, 250.
250,
America 250.
right. Yeah, that we've been free from you. No, I'm just kidding.
We need to do I think just pause you for July the 4th, the episode that goes out that week. Let's do the greatest American novel or greatest American authors discussion.
I would love to do
Let's
that.
do a celebration of American culture.
Okay.
Starsky and Hutch and everything.
All right. I would love to do that, even though I've never seen Starsky and Hutch. But we could do,
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. Yes, please. All right. That sounds like a lot of fun. But before that, before July 4th, would love to know one thing in the first quarter that is an actual business metric, not a vanity metric, but a business metric you can look at and decide from that, what is something to double down on and maybe what is something you can stop doing. And then tell us, write it down, tell someone, tell us what is a pivot that you, having looked at that, might make for the second half of the year. I think it's a good time to look at what we've done, make sure we're on track, and pivot if we need to. So that's the homework.
Okay, so 3 things.
Maybe we can give a prize, James. Students always loved kind of an incentive. So we should have talked about this earlier.
Why do we get some signed pictures of the photo shoot we did? Some of the pictures of us that we haven't released, you and I could sign it and put it in a little frame and send it out to somebody.
Not sure that's what they want.
That's absolutely what they want. I want it. If I want it,
I know. What if because this is something I'd want, what if we took that and put it on a mug? You know how I have my Sir James Blatch mug?
Yes.
I would love an SPS mug of that.
All right. We'll do some mugs. I'll get Catherine to do some mugs with you and me on them.
Okay.
So there's 3 things. We'll put them in the show notes. What number are you proudest of in H1, which is what us trendy people call the half year of 2026? And is it actually a business metric? So what number are you most proud of? Is it a business metric? 2, what did you stop doing? And was that the right call? 3, what is your 1Q3 pivot? What are you going to do differently? And as Cissy says, you've got to say that out loud. You've got to tell somebody so it sticks. Okay, we'll put those in the show notes.
Okay.
And I'm going to put your website in the show notes, mechaandromance.com, so people can see the bundle packages.
Very good.
What else was I going to say? We are now editing SPS Live sessions. Quite a lot to edit, but I don't have a date for release yet, but it's going to be early July. And when they're released, the early bird price finishes. So it'll be full price. So you get it for $99 before then. If you want to get the session recordings, you go to learnselfpublishing.com/digital. Let's get digital. I don't know whether to think of David Cochran or Olivia Newton-John when I sing that. Anyway, or a mixture of the two. A horrifying mixture of the two. If you know who those people are. That's it, I think.
Okay.
I do think we rambled at the beginning for slightly longer than we delivered the content.
Yeah. Which is ironic, being that I actually brought up the fact, about
You're
rambling at the beginning. So
complaining about another podcast doing that. Do it.
I'm just trying to keep it real, James.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Trying to keep it real. I'm flawed. We're all flawed. The podcast might be slightly flawed, but probably not. I bet you it's awesome.
Everything's flawed. If people weren't flawed, we wouldn't be writing novels, would we?
This is true.
We'd be robots.
Dear.
There'll be no need. What was that I was watching the other day? Oh yeah, what is that series set in the future where there's a kind of alien invasion through? What is that called? The woman from I sound like so old and senile now. The woman who was in Better Call Saul, who's a fantastic actress. Did you watch Better Call Saul?
No.
You never watch what I watch. Anyway.
I know, I hear it's so good.
But they all communicate. They all know it. They're basically one organism, and they all know, so they never talk. So in the future, when AI is taken over the world and humans are extinct, which obviously is going to happen at some point, there'll be no need for podcasts or anything like this. Everyone will just know everything. This is a glorious time. This flawed era we're living in, the flawed humanity era. This is what this planet's going through now. Is the time to be alive.
This just really took a turn. So now you're determined to have a closing that never ends, in addition to our opening. That never ended.
I know. Someone's now done 16 miles on the treadmills. Please end. Okay, that's it then. We're going to say goodbye.
Okay.
We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Built by writers for writers. Pro Writing Aid doesn't just check spelling and grammar, it helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. Now it can provide even on-demand developmental feedback for your entire manuscript with its manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Give your writing a competitive advantage by heading to prowritingaid.com. Sign up for free and use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount on annual subscriptions.